Hey, look, Menulog.
I'm going to say PGG Peace.
Yep.
Just because of the Corky jinx on the red side.
Good. I think PGG Mammoth, but yeah, Rusty's probably right.
Congratulations, you got your first L on the board. It is actually...
Of course.
Oh no!
No, it is
LCO.
TT.
And it
Rare
wasn't
Adam.
even top esports, it was
And
Rare
TT.
Adam. Oh, and I cast that game. I literally cast that game. And I hated it. I did color casting for the one and only game of this.
To be fair, LPL had like 300 games at that point, so hysterics, I understand if you forgot one draft. It's no big deal. No one's going to hold it against you for the rest of your life, or the rest of the year, or whenever.
No,
one's
I
gonna
forgot
do
the
that.
drafts that happened last game, man. I can't blame him.
You're not going to remember that if we bring it up in that game at some point?
What
You're going to
game?
be like, oh, this is... You've forgotten about it already. Anyway, let's talk shop, let's talk game. Let's jump on into both these teams. So, Rusty, talk me through Direwolves and talk me through how they're going to take the dub over Kanga today.
Dials have been looking pretty good lately. There's one big takeaway that I've had for this team so far. Big game today against Kanga. But overall, for the side of the Direwolves, I think it's fair to say the last time we've seen them be successful, Kyosei has been breaking ankles, and then the Direwolves have just been breaking necks around him. Gudo has been ganking Frost and Shinky, and I feel like that trio is really coming to their own, and Zoranus has been a lot more standard, I feel like it's fair to say, for the side of the Wolfpack. So overall, I like the direction they've started to go. Yeah, I understand, and the coaches said as much, Mac. They've been experimenting with some drafts and strategies, but I think now is the time to really knuckle down and not just find your perfect identity, but refine it so that you go into the playoffs with your best foot forward in game one.
Just play what's good, right? Now, we got Kanga as well, and they've started to find some more success here, Skimmy. So, talk me through the lineup and talk me through the fresh face we see here in the jungle.
Yeah, so Kanga going to be making another change. They first brought in Fighter in the mid lane, now going to be bringing Scott for the jungle, who was previously a part of the OCS back in 2020, so he's taken a bit of a break from the competitive scene, but this will be his debut again, I guess, really, at the highest level. Known as Unshackled back then, made it all the way to the grand finals, only to lose to the Dire Cubs. So I don't know if there's a premonition of things to come going into this one, but it's a very important game, and his sort of champion pool has been rather aggressively focused too. So stat-wise, he seemed to be up there in the mix of a hybrid carry with a high KP. I'm excited to see how he changes things on this roster compared to Say Only.
Yeah, I just want to see what he's capable of, right? Because Only's had a couple of rough weeks, and when you do see some change-ups come through, then, it sometimes works, it sometimes doesn't. And last time they went head-to-head, Direwolves, of course, took the dub. But the time before that, it was Kanga. And knowing that, it is, of course, this head-to-head. It's one apiece, and this is the third time they're playing. So the winner of this game has that head-to-head, and it's extremely important for Kanga, more so because they're behind by a couple of wins at the moment, Rusty.
And this is also one of the first games back where they've not been playing against the top teams each other, right? Like very difficult games back-to-back, bar the one Gravitas win from the side of Direwolves. So I feel like this is a really big momentum and motivation builder, actually, above all else, right? Like, you've just come off the back of two big L's if you're Kanga, but we've been saying this for a while, right? The direction feels positive for them. Like, Fido was a big deal. Maybe Scott's a big deal as well, but, you have to start that momentum off eventually. Probably now, not later.
Yeah, speaking of big deals, shout out to Bulldog, who was full flexing after that dub last time they went head-to-head. But look, both of these teams shared their thoughts on how they're going to be making it the playoffs and how much this matchup means.
Us the dogs, we're feeling confident, we're feeling good making playoffs, but we still are not egoing on the bottom tier teams. They might make a comeback, we might fall.
Playoffs are really important for our team. None of our players have actually ever reached playoffs, and it'd be a pretty good opportunity for us.
I think we've definitely underperformed expectations so far. I think Kanga is a playoffs team. Dals is definitely our most important matchup. We have to beat them and cause an upset to make playoffs.
The game against Kanga is really huge. It'll definitely decide who will be going to playoffs and who won't. It's anyone's game to win.
We're going to be using these next 3 weeks to try and improve, and hopefully we cause some upsets and make that fifth spot for playoffs.
We just got to bring our end game and not fumble the bag, keep it chill, keep it good, keep it nice, you know what I'm saying?
I think playoffs are still on the cards for Kanga. I think if we can clean up our mid to late game, we can definitely pull out some wins against the top teams.
We're going to terrorize the Rift with our spicy drafts. We're going to make our mark.
Win or lose, your boy's gonna be doing my thing on them interviews, you know what I'm saying? Kitty, yeah, Skimmy, yeah, Neck, I see you. Hey, Rusty, I don't forget about you. We're gonna spice it up in these coming 3 weeks, baby.
Rusty, are you glad that you weren't forgotten there?
He's a good guy, isn't he, the old Bulldog? We had a chat in Twitch chat a little while ago, Mac, and he was trying to work out how to have a build similar to mine but still eat Maccas, so we're working through it together.
Look, I've seen a couple of YouTubers out there that, you know, they'll eat whatever the hell they want. You know, they just work really hard. So essentially, you know, Bulldog, that's it. Just hit the gym twice a day, every day, and you'll be fine. Just eat what you want. Now, look, we got to talk about what's going on in the mid lane, because Kiyose up against Fido, they both are very, very good in their particular roles. But, Skimmy, who's better?
It's a good question, because from what we've seen so far from Kiyose, incredibly versatile. Will literally play anything in China's hard carries. You give him Syndra, well, you probably just lost Ari. Also, we know what it's all about. But for the side of Fido, I feel like he has those meta champions available at a notice, but is much more preferential to these individual pocket picks. We've seen him play the Cassiopeia, we've seen the Corki come back into the light, in particular from himself, but also the mid Tristana. So if we're talking about spicy drafts, definitely Direwolves and Kiyose in particular have shown up there on top of things, but Fido's introduction has certainly caused a bit of a stir in the mid lane too. And I think, yeah, for Fido, he's certainly been very aggressive. We've been impressed by his ability to try and push his lead, or even just say, I'm going to find priority when it shouldn't be found otherwise, link up with my jungler, and we're going to get things done in a game that might be a little bit too slow-paced otherwise.
Yeah, now, look, this matchup's been pretty good, but I think my favourite matchup for this game in particular is Zoranus and Kitty. And that's because they both get to talk to one another. One's probably going to talk better than the other, but let's see how that one goes.
Oh.
Well, me and Zoranus rarely meet on the Rift because we don't play the same lane. You know, Zoranus is in top lane and I'm doing my thing in support. But let's bring Zoranus into the conversation because we do have a match to continue with. So Zoranus, you are about to play a really important match because Dials is currently 1-1 in terms of the head-to-head against Kanga. What is going to be the advantage of Dials that will have Kanga swept off their feet with Scott coming onto the roster for their team?
So obviously with the introduction of Scott over only, we've had a lot longer to play together as a team. I think we're looking to really abuse the fact that they might not have that team synergy built up over time like they would have had with only, especially with Fido also just coming in as well. Like, we expect that their team synergy is not on point.
We've seen a lot of rosters actually changing up their rosters throughout the split, and it hasn't always been the best, but we also see Dials kind of changing in terms of the support position, but that's okay. So, Zoranus, you have quite a diverse champion pool ranging from the Camille to the Urgot to the Janna. How would you describe your own playstyle and your role as a player?
I'd like to think of myself as a flexible player that can play anything. I'll just play whatever it is to facilitate the team, whether that's the Janna top, which is pretty easy to play, like support's pretty easy role, wouldn't we say? So I'll play anything really.
Well, talking about flexible, do you prefer to be the carry or do you prefer to be carried by your team?
I mean, it's much easier to play like Janna, Lulu, get carried by your team. Maybe some Sona.
Well, I too always get easily carried playing the Janna, Lulu, and Sona. Well, best of luck. Hopefully you get carried by your teammates tonight. Kiyose, you know, I'm looking at you, Syndra. Well, best of luck, Zoranus, and see you on the other side.
Thank you. I get carried.
He's ready to get carried. I love that as the sign-off.
Sick.
He's like, yeah, I'm just going to do the Tapoon, you know, just stay in top lane, hopefully win it. The rest of the boys, they'll do the hard work. So, yeah, beautiful, beautiful response. Now, you guys, you're doing my hard work as well. So, Def and vote time. Get your Twitch points in. Get me a dub in the predictions, because that, of course, is what matters, is you guys making sure to make my predictions look even, at least. That's all I'm asking for. And if you don't want it to look even, well, put him on the team you don't think's going to win. You won't get anything back, but you might ruin my predictions even more. I already did a pretty good job of doing that. Speaking of predictions, let's have a look at where everyone's gone, because this could be a split one. But it's not. Everyone's loving how Direwolves is playing. Rusty, what was that face?
No, I'm not. I'm actually a little bit surprised that it isn't split with at least one person. I think there's a lot to this Mac. I know that you would probably be going for Kanga if it wasn't Twitch voting for you. I think Kanga has shown improvements, but Scott is an unknown quantity, and we know that Fido and Only worked well together, right?
Yeah.
Like we saw the mid jungle diving side lanes and getting it done, and I didn't, in my mind, ever think that someone replacing Only was going to be an upgrade ever. So I have a hard time wanting to predict them over Direwolves, who are a much more known quantity.
Yeah. Now, Kitty, talk to me about this matchup. Why have you gone with Direwolves? Because we haven't heard your piece yet.
Well, Direwolves has played a lot longer together. They have got that team synergy, like Zorna said. But if I was to go with Kanga, let's give like a little theory here. If I was to go with Kanga tonight, it will be through Scott because he does have the element of surprise. You don't know what he plays. You don't know how his synergy works with Fido. So if they do win, it's definitely going to be through the mid jungle.
Okay, so let's see if that is the case. I'm looking at mid. I love that mid matchup we had a look at before, but Kyose, I just want to see what he's got, because this is one of those matchups where he can really flex, especially if he's given one of those champs that we know that he can pop off on. And he's got a bit of a pull. You know, all that can really stop him is if we see Kanga try to target ban him in Champ Select.
Yeah.
And look, I think we're about to find out if that's going to happen, because Champ Select is ready. This match, very important. Let's see how it unfolds.
As you say, Mac, a very important game. Both these teams tied 1-1 in their head-to-head, and it feels almost like if Kanga can't win this one, then that ship has sailed. A very exciting mid-lane matchup, because both times Kyose has laned into Chungi as well, so a chance to see how he can handle Fido.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a big ask. We'll see what exactly they can get done. How does Fido go with Kyose stepping up in his face as well, Skimmy, given what we've seen from Kyose the past week? We know that he's called the ankle breaker for a reason. If he's not called that, I've just called it twice in 10 minutes.
Just,
so
you're making
now.
up, absolutely.
Yeah, we're shipping it. So far in this draft, just again, like the Jinx Zeri this time around are going to be banned, not seen. Trist is actually going to be target banned from Fido. That's interesting, because the last time we saw the Trist, it felt like an Ahri handled it fine. And that's where my head has gone to. Skimmy. Ahri, it's up.
It is up. Do the Direwolves lock it in here in the next rotation and guarantee that, well, don't really care what you play, I just need to remove at least some semblance of cheese. That's a Nami being locked in very early on, guaranteeing that they have to go to Lucian. I don't see there's any other Nami matchup at this stage.
Yeah, I mean, they've just gone straight up 2-3 Lucian, Nami. Usually one has to be seen with the other. You don't go Nami or Lucian without that. Floor is open here, so one thing that I wanted to bring up about this Ahri matchup, Skimmy, is I was doing some research globally on win rates for Ahri. Vex is the only one that has, I think, a strictly negative win rate in a matchup. So I think Ahri is 1-4 against Vex globally in the top 5 regions, where everything else is 50-50 minimum. So Fido being a Vex player, I think this is a confidence pick from him. Go straight into 3. You don't need to ban the Ahri. Perhaps that's what they're thinking. Instead, you can focus other roles and maybe make things easier for even Liv or, Gudo.
Good consideration. They will start off, though, by removing the Karma, limiting Kyose's champ pool just a fraction more. We are going to save that, obviously, for Kyose and Zorenis to find their love in this affair, because Kanga Esports, as we've seen, when Liv is given a chance to take the 1v1 for the most part, he's able to come out ahead in that one, so they're going to try and target as much, you'd imagine now, from the side of Direwolves towards him in response. No, it's going to be a Hecarim.
Hecarim taken off the board. Wondering if it's just going to be a volley bear that's banned with it. We need to learn a bit more about Scott and what he plays. I'm thinking like Kanga drafts, not so much Scott champion pool. We know that he loves a good carry, however, he's a higher ranked challenger jungler. Usually with the Hecarim would come the volley bear. They fill a similar purpose as champions. And again, we're trying to bottleneck Skimmy. It feels weird to say, why are they banning Karma and Zoe when Ahri literally exists for Kyose? But perhaps that is the play.
want the matchup. They certainly want to take it, and we want to have a full-on bloodbath in the mid lane as to who is the true ankle breaker, no doubt about it. Hecarim gone. Will it in fact be the Volley Bear 2? No, it's going to be Viego as well. And the only really thing that stands out to me here would be that if you at least look at what he's been playing in the solo queue, these would be at the very top of his preference. Go back to say some of the champions he played in OCS, and it's obviously very irrelevant data for today because the Xin Zhao instead.
That's why I feel like the Viego's a funny ban, just because Xin does exist. He's just such a powerful champion in general. Adds so much for the dueling threat with the Thresh lane, right? With the Vex lane. This is an interesting hover because most people would say it's unplayable. Vex just runs the lane. But Kyose's going to take it. Look at the look on his face.
Look at his face. Yep.
That, to me, is a look of someone whose coach just said, you're playing LeBlanc, if you know what I mean.
I tell you what, that's not a face of a person saying, I'm playing this and locking it in. That's definitely some outside introductions being made for sure. Question is, though, what do we finalize this draft with? It's going to be the Gragas. So a comp with a lot of pick potential, or a rundown execution, but very fragile.
Yeah, Gragas going to be blind pick top lane. So they held top counter and they choose the Gragas for Zoranus instead of something like the Graves, like the Jace, which means they're both just available for the side of Kanga to look towards. There was no real requirement for a damage type for Direwolves, just a frontliner is what they really wanted, it feels like. And so they go for the safest blind pick of all of the tanks in the game, instead of, you know, the Ornn, the Malphite, etc., the Scion. They pick the one that's not going to be bullied as much.
Exciting times in top lane. Gragas and Graves.
Woohoo.
I can't wait to see the Hull Breaker come out, the Gragas struggle, and then we pan away with our camera really quickly. What they know, obviously going to be the talking point, right? We've already seen a handful of these games. We saw from Gravitas as well, where it was very volatile. The jungle played towards it to try and get ahead. I'm expecting much of the same here as well, right? We know that Aphelios and Thresh is a true and tested combo, much like Lucian Nami. If that can get some momentum, it's just going to scale out of infinity and relegate this this Lucian to being just an ulti bot.
You kind of have to play towards bot if you're Direwolves. You know, you don't want to. I don't think you want to ever give any kind of disadvantages to Frost and the Shinky, to the Lucian and to the Nami. But you also have a mid matchup that is extremely volatile. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Gudo start maybe blue and like blue side and force his way down with a full clear down the bot, or like even just be super aggressive on the bot side of the map. For me, it's about the 2v2 mid jungle and how that transitions to bot lane. And I do think that Scott and Fido with Xin Zhao and Vex have a very dangerous 2v2 skirmish. And so my eyes are peeled firmly towards them on the side of Kanga.
It certainly feels like a nice introduction, right? If you're making your competitive debut, to say, what are we locking in here? What gives us agency? Well, you hit a stun, I hit a fear, whatever it might be. We're collapsing, we're taking down that target. It feels like there's a little bit more nuance and sort of skill expression from the LeBlanc Lee Sin pairing. But we've seen him do it. We know that Gudo is a phenomenal Lee Sin player. The Korean Lee Sin buff no doubt activated, as it has been all split long. And a chance to showcase really who is the better on the night, because that is really where we're looking at, right? The mid lane is that focus, their first time meeting one another. It felt like they were going to get shoehorned into the Ahri. But will that LeBlanc gamble pay off?
There's definitely a lot on the line here for Kanga, and what I would say is a must-win game. I am a big fan of the draft they put together, Skimmy. Definitely a big proponent of their team fighting. Everything about their comp, I think, is just good, right? You've got the split push from the Graves. You've got the front line of a Xin. Thresh actually enables Xin Zhao to clear vision, right? To place skirmishes and picks much more aggressively, to set up around mid lane and protect Fido, and then using the Vex to play towards the Aphelios, who's their natural point of scaling, while Vex does a decent amount of damage herself. So it all just makes sense, where I feel like the burden of execution belongs to Direwolf. You've got Lucian Nami, you have to be aggressive. You've got the LeBlanc into the Vex matchup, you have to play it exceptionally. Gragas is still skill shots, and so is the Lee Sin, so a point to prove here for Direwolves.
Point to prove for the Direwolves, a point to prove for Kanga. Both teams are looking to try and keep their dreams alive for playoffs, and one team just has a slightly easier chance of achieving that. Well, let's check in with the coaching staff of Direwolves. Speaking of then, let's bring back Velexis into the conversation as we talk things through here. And I had to ask Velexis, I mean, With only 6 games now remaining in the season, with a healthy 3-game lead above your opponent. I mean, you got head-to-head over Gravitas, head-to-head over Mammoth. Would a win here tonight feel like playoffs is just secured?
To be completely honest, not really. This split has kind of shown that nothing's ever truly confirmed until it really is. Like, the amount of upsets that we've seen is kind of nutty. So, yeah, we just keep going until we know 100% we are confirmed.
A smart way to approach things. Well, talk to me about some of the prep that went into this week, right? You've seen that Scott's now picking up the position of the jungle. Has that affected things in prep at all? Have you had to make any major adjustments to try and accommodate that?
To be honest, not really. It is a bit of, you know, a letdown that Only isn't playing today. Not sure why that is. I think Only is definitely the leader that Kanga like kind of needed. And with Fido coming in as well, like I thought they would have been a much better suit together. But, you know, Scott being a rookie, I hope he can do well. It's always interesting to see the new players in the limelight. So
Yes, what a welcome introduction and a high-pressure moment. Well, I wish you and the boys the best of luck for this game and the next. And, yeah, we'll catch up soon. Left on scene. Oh, look, it happens to the best of us. Maybe his mic cut out. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Lex is a lovely guy.
Does hit you with the I'm a head out, but didn't actually say it. Scott's just going to be pathing from Red Raptors down towards his blue buff and Gromp. Just for the side of Kanga. That's going to be spotted on vision at both buffs, to be honest. And for the side of Direwolves, I don't think we're too surprised, right? Blue Gromp straight into the level 3 clear, full clear most likely for the Lee Sin, but he's on the correct side of the map that we were expecting. His bot lane should be pushing, should be aggressive. It is the Lucian Nami way. Mid lane, I'm just going to quickly reiterate this because I said it in Champion Select the second this matchup was locked in, but I'm pretty sure, and this is mostly agreed upon by the masses, that if you're LeBlanc, you are banning Vex because it is an unplayable matchup, right? That is what you usually see. Kyosei is a bit of a freak player. He is very good at LeBlanc. He's got some fancy footwork, but Vex is just winning in this matchup most of the time. So Direwolves drafted into the Vex picking LeBlanc. You'd have to hope there was a reason, but I just can't find one.
Struggling to find one as well. I do wonder also, I mean, I think it raises a good question, having a conversation with Alexis just before about, you know, Scott's introduction into this team, given that we've heard from Oli himself, right, that he has the experience, that he has been a very big component of their comms and shot calling. So who does the burden now fall upon as a result? You know, are we now putting attention towards Lived? That would seem a little bit odd to try and shot call from the top lane, but we've heard it be done before. Curious to see what kind of direction we get in this game, because speaking of, he is keen and raring to go.
3 minions,
buff,
you have to dive straight away.
Looking to dive, but Kyosu's just going to distort away.
Going to distort him? Okay, so he's going to dash to the minions. Fear's going to connect, but it does mean that the chains will be dodged by Scott disengaging. I like the idea of threatening the dive, but at the same time, the real win from that little transaction, Skimmy, is that the distortion was used. So Kyosei actually has to expend a whole lot of mana there, and he's basically at 0. So Bickies have to be used to even stay in that lane.
Ooh. That's the reason you lock this one in. Tycler's Blessing, and you're in their face, and they don't even know what just hit them. Really the bullying nature of things, and that's what you expect to see continue to be the theme for the next few levels.
So you're expecting Liv to push top. You are expecting Fido to push mid, especially as he gets levels, but that is also just, you know, a pushing champion against one that doesn't really in LeBlanc. She has to use her damage to champion spells to be pushing, so that's the trade-off. Bot should be favorable for the side of Direwolves. There's also a cleanse there from Frost, so it means that Thresh's usefulness is a little bit less, but he can still play for the hook with Glacial, right? Can still play for the Flay. There is still some value there, but it's push that goes towards Direwolves' side. So this is where you have to look at the junglers and their pathing, right? You saw Scott go from red start to blue buff back to top side, looked for a potential gank, but he's back to his top clear, now back towards the bot scuttle. Budo started blue, has cycled all of his camps, he's now back towards his blue buff camps, and it feels like we're just getting level 6 gameplay. So it could just be that these pushes from lanes just result in dive threats.
Seems to be the case, given that the push is working in favor of Direwolves' bot side, but the push is then working for Fido in the mid lane. Jumps in, gets feared, and cops a huge trade against him. And I mean, that really is the living proof of why this matchup isn't too desirable.
Especially with the fear passive there for Fido, right? You even consider using to store forwards, you are feared and take 3 spells for 0. And the electrocute that you'll struggle to proc in a transaction. So I always like the matchup that Fido is in. Direwolf still with a bit of control here though, right? Shinky with so much movement out of lane. In a 1v1, you're very happy being a Lucian also. You can see how much space this purchases them.
For the next moment, when the game explodes into action, whether or not we will just get level 6 rushes before any real major claim to fame. Drake is going to be initiated here, based on Direwolves having the agency to leave the lane. It's pushed. They have no real need to be there. Ocean Drake going to be claimed at that. We're now going to be taking his chances, tracking up Lantern, getting vision and trying to clear out the control wall, but lost it for a second.
Yeah, it was actually a really nice control wood placement by Goodo. It's just far enough away that Thresh's really small auto attack range, even though his range isn't going to be able to attack it. And Limas, you know, the Lantern was going to expire by the time he got there. So Drake is just going to be secured. Goodo very confused about what he wants to do right now. He is 1 camp off 6, maybe even 2 melee minions, so the play could happen here. He's missing that experience.
I think he's just out of range, but he's going to jump in regardless. Will the chains connect? They have. Sonic Wave in, looking for the execute, and there it is. First blood, patience and perseverance, and it all just pays off.
Turns out he doesn't need the experience, he just needs Kyosei to get all of the work done. He will just come and hit the Sonic Wave on what is already a chained target. Nice attempt from Zorinus, but lived very much at the ready with that dash. We'll be able to back away. But that first blood mid, I mean, that's exactly what you talk about for how a 2v2 can influence the lane, right? Yes.
Oh, I like that. I love that. The confidence, the all-in potential. That is what the bot lane is brought for. That is why we see it. And that is what it can do.
The fact that the kill is secured by Shinky and his electrocute off the auto attacks of Frosts. It's just crazy how much damage Nami can do by simply pressing E, right? Getting it done, but hey, the aggression, that's how you play Lucian Nami. Direwolf's putting on a bit of a clinic here and showing that perhaps the draft doesn't matter as much if the players are still good.
Certainly raises a good conversation piece as Kanga still waiting to try and find their footing in this one. They started up the Heralds. Gonna get zoned away here as Direwolves swarm in numbers towards the player to reclaim, and they're successful in doing so.
The map flip as you would expect, Skimmy. Nothing crazy to report on, just in terms of what we're going to be seeing as a trade here, though, from the side of Kanga. Because Gragas is already posted in bot lane and it is just Limas, he's not even going to get plates. So really, this map flip is just good right now from the side of Direwolves. Kanga going to make 0 active attempts to try and give Limas some plates in a trade. Herald's going to be a free secure and a free summon if they wanted, but it's not going to be lethal on the turret. It's just going to be money. I don't know if this is a necessary summon.
Yeah, I mean, it's 3 plates, all things considered. Into the pockets there of the bot lane of Direwolves.
They just had such a good lane mismatch, right? Like, they had the big guy against the small guy posting up and they just chose to take the shot instead of actually using what they had. But it's, you know, it's extra money in the pockets. It's just going to be Graves able to push the wave in while they reset, go back to their regular lanes. They still had a minute 50 to work with until the next Drake spawned, so I didn't think they were too time pressed. But nevertheless, so they made their call.
Be concerned, right, about extrapolating maximum value. They just wanted to try and press their advantage, perhaps sitting on an item spike, but no item really complete at this stage. As Kyosei is going to flirt with danger once again, going into fight with the passive at hand. Lionel was there, as is both supports lurking in the shadows.
Yeah. Just doing a big protect. Shinky can't stay for too long because he has to go back to Frost, otherwise, again, it is what it is. Frost starts to push in, will have his Knight in Shining Armor to back him up.
Back to base we go, reset and ready to posture for the second Drake. I do wonder if Kanga will go for this one, because now Liv has picked himself up the Hull Breaker. He's got himself a sizable lead into Zoranis. We already know how much the Gragas is going to struggle with this itemization against him. Do they feel hard-pressed to actually even go for the second Drake?
I don't think you have to force it by any means. I think right now you're so happy with the state of the game. If you continue lanes as is, you're actually just going to get enough good health trades that the Drake becomes free for Direwolves. But Kanga, something's got to give, you feel like, but at the same time, is it worth just sacrificing a bit of laning phase to scale into the game? I guess is a question that we could ask. Haven't seen Scott once yet, not going to lie.
We are waiting. I was going to ask you the question of sort of what we viewed as his assessment, his introduction into this game, but maybe a little bit later on. So it has been rather quiet, all things considered. Gudo has certainly showcased his experience at this level.
Okay, Kanga, they bring Liv down, they walk him down, Hull Breaker completed. Direwolves have 2 flanks to Kanga, who are just grouped up as 5.
Curious if they no chance for that one, making sure there is no engage. There could have
Go
been
to see
potential
control.
trades.
Limas is so separated.
Renes. Gonna get run down here a little bit by Liv. Does a kill just happens off our screen? You said it. Double summoner's burnt. He is separated and he is just dead. The chains connect and in jumps Scott. Crescent Guard locks him in place for a fantastic death sentence. There's the tidal wave and the bubble because they want to disengage, but not before Fido jumps in with that Shadow Surge, nearly taking out Kyo7. It's just a clone. Now they jump right back in and Gudo says, I want more blood. The Gorge Rigger sustain is just not enough. But this Lucian has found another kill and he's going to find a second, maybe even a third.
Yeah, Frost just going crazy, right? Frost, the Lucian army putting in some serious work to make sure this fight was positive for them in the end, but still it was trades. Again, like well played by Scott and from Kanga to recognize that the fight was still there. Limas, non-existent, right? That was the biggest issue that they ran into, and I don't know what we would see if we were to watch a replay here time-wise. Limas is so split from his team, even walking this path is illegal. He needs to walk the safest way possible, the long way. If he knows that there's only 3 people visible and he knows that a Lucian and army are missing, just can't afford to do what he did. Kyose flashes forwards here to hit the second change, which is just a bit too far. The Direwolves, you do feel like they could have just accepted the pick as really positive played for the Drake. It gives Kanga enough time to try and be super aggressive here. Scott actually flashes forwards here, the winds become lightning, and Gudo just sees his moment, right? That's 3 people with a Gore Drinker E-slap. Top lane Lee Sin loves that, but he's just still a little bit too fragile. So he will still have to trade his life.
That's a net turtle. Somehow, Direwolves really are just winning. And frustration for Linus, no doubt about it. Hitting the flash after the auto had already connected, so it traveled with him. And he's going to have to play it very, very passively now. They're not going to be given any protection from this Thresh, who is continuing to try and roam and find advantages to keep this Vex in control. Feels strange to say, given how things were working so far in the early portions of this laning matchup. Look at Kyose, I mean, unstoppable.
Oh, he actually almost had
close.
that.
Has he cancelled an auto there? It looks so close.
It feels like he might have cancelled it by accident, but it was like a stone's throw from actually just being not an auto. Hard to say. Either way, that's kind of a part of the mechanics battle that you'll see between a Vex and a LeBlanc. If Vex uses the Fear passive to push the wave in, it's kind of just all stations go for LeBlanc to be aggressive.
Yeah.
But that was a sign that Fido wanted to reset anyway. So ultimately, the fact that there was no kill means that was business as usual. But geez, that was close.
Certainly closer than he would have been hoping for. They have taken that opportunity, though, to invade and steal away the blue buff. So KSU have 2 of those now to cycle through. Unless Scott can add any influence into this one. They do have their own control down at a Scott out. Oh, Scott out. Spot out if Scott does go there. There's a tongue twister. But he has started up the Herald, the second one of this game. Looks like they're going to lose the turret for this, though.
Red team's turret has been destroyed. Blue team's turret has been destroyed.
Things still really nice for Kanga through the top side of the map, right? Like, if there was one thing I really wanted to pick at, it's the fact that Gragas was picked in general. I get that Direwolves probably looked at their draft and said we needed a tank, we needed a frontliner. and it was a blind pick champion, so it's hard to deal with, but I feel like we were also looking at potential 4 or 5 bans of something like the Graves to give your lane just a bit more of a chance. That is just going to be a turret that falls, Skimmy, and that's the issue. Gives them something back, right? Gives them some space. You can see through the jungle role as well, a 30 jungle CS lead for Scott. That's put him in a pretty comfortable position on the map, even though Goodo was able to find some early kills and some early activity. But the game just simply is, 1, Kyosei is still just a beast on the Blanc and can make any matchup work, apparently. And 2, Illusion Nami has actually done its job in laning phase and is terrible to deal with.
Certainly has done what you'd expect of it. And it is going to come out of laning phase with still a huge advantage to talk about. Going to be a hot minute until the Aphelios Fresh can look to try and answer back and even match at this stage. Burst just gets a fraction worse for the Imperial Mandate now complete. Kanga now putting a bit of pressure up top side here, much more just to protect if anything else. Dev will not be too keen on that one with his whole breaker being removed, but waiting for that moment for him to perhaps gank mid lane and get Vex back in this one.
A little bit behind in items at the moment. You probably want that Mythic done before you really try and push the tempo around Fido. Because bringing the LeBlanc to the party is a very dangerous prospect. Frost tries, but realizes that is still in fact the whole breaker. So he actually does no damage. Because that item is good and balanced and should probably stay in the game forever, in my opinion.
I was talking to Mac before saying it's almost like Banner of Command but nerfed into Oblivion. I mean, obviously Banner of Command was that much worse, but it's a fragment of what it used to be.
Scott's here. Kanga postured like they want to defend this, but they're not. We've got Limas getting a free wave bottom, so just perhaps a bit of time spent and wasted from the rest of Direwolves if there was no objective to contest that. Drake up in 50 seconds, so that time could have actually been spent perhaps on a disengage, perhaps setting up a Herald play mid, perhaps a reset for control woods for the Drake, but either way, Limas has still not decided to be with the team, Skimmy. That's kind of what we're waiting for.
Yeah, he's been frantically farming to try and keep up, at least going to this next fight with some degree of evenness with the solution. Then he got caught out there. I mean, Kirsten no doubt was banking on the fact that he might have greeted to try and push that wave in. TP to the bot tribe rush, but wasn't going to find it on that occasion. At this stage, really, they're just hunting down kills.
They're just having a good time.
Yeah.
Cool excursion to the top lane. See what you can find. Direwolves are going to be playing around the Drake just because it is their third. I feel like this is a very obvious point of attack. Kanga and how they contest this one, Skimmy.
In comes Lived, TPing in to commit to this one. Cannot afford to give too many of these Drakes over for free. Going to be playing for another Cloud Soul this game. Kersey just on the flank, untouched, doing a whole lot of damage in towards this Vex. In jumps Serenus, waiting for that explosive cast, only onto one, onto Lionel. And Limas hits that Moonlight Vigil with the AoE clap from afar, but it just does not matter because Kyosei is left to the sidelines. And it's just having so much fun.
He just has so much freedom, right? Like, he'd just be so aggressive. Fido really struggling because he's kind of in the front line at the moment that these skirmishers are breaking out. And LeBlanc just steps forwards, uses the distortion just to get in range for the sigils. And just half health. Second cycle of spells, that is basically a 1v1. That's how much damage LeBlanc's doing. Lived is a different story.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's having a crack at the Graves. Maybe not so much.
There is still a raid boss in this game for Kanga, but just hasn't really found a chance to do anything. Plus 100, but also that was an ultimate that wasn't able to be used at the Drake fight, so take that for what it's worth.
Let's run it back with this one, because it starts off with a hope and you're thinking this is looking good, but then Fido forced to run the opposite way around, just gets sniped.
Has flash. Just gets completely comboed out. I mean, could have flashed very easily. Ultimately, I feel like if you were Kanga's composition, you're looking to be set up, you're looking to hit a Thresh hook, or have Xin standing in front, and you probably want the Vex not to be on a flank, but to just take the front-to-back fights. I think it's been proven now that Vex on the flanks is just being blown up by the LeBlanc. Realistically, I think you want the Graves on the flank, if anyone. Because I don't think he's losing that 1v1 if he's got a hull breaker passive. And a shield bow.
Certainly not with the shield bow, yeah, absolutely. And you can see him just having fun with this one. Doesn't really care if that caster's going to take down the minions because he'll still take that turret. That's going to be Kanga's third of the game, keeping pace up here with Direwolves 2. You wonder, as this game goes on, if more and more attention now gets thrown towards making sure that he continues to be that side lane bully.
Do you think people who pick Gragas willingly want to have a bad time? Like, it takes you so long to clear waves, right? Like, he is full tank. Frozen heart before he has a mythic.
Yeah.
Presses Q on a minion wave and it doesn't execute. It's not enough damage to take out range minions. That's just sadness. And you have to live your life with the Graves pushing while you're just sad.
Ultimately, wants to be as tanky as the minions that the Hex Breaker is buffing up. Out goes to Culling, turns things around. I'm going to try and go in is Scott, who's then forced to dash away. With the wind comes lightly. Nice fancy feet from himself, but it's not going to be enough to protect his AD carry.
Oh, he got him.
Yosei is, yeah, just everywhere at once.
Yosei gets him with the Zardus.
Yes, flash body slam on towards Fido, going golden. Oh, flashing out the bubble. That's clutch. And now they've drawn in Zoranis, but then Kyosei across the wall. Surprise, surprise. Bait out the fear. Vex is now dead. Absolutely disintegrated by Frost. And then it's just down to a tank Graves, and they say that's enough.
Once again, the raid boss that is lived is still alive. The Graves is 202, 230 CS at 22 minutes, Skibby, with a 200 gold shutdown. This Graves is large, but the rest of the team is struggling. 0-4 in mid. I mean, we'll see the second part of this fight. It was a nice combo from Zoranis, to be honest. The Zonias was good from Fido, as was the Flash. So he still puts down a lot of DPS in this, even though it was the Gragas that gets him out of position. And Lived is just able to freely hit this entire time. But what initially kicked this fight off, Skibby? The first half of this fight was the Xin going forwards, was the Vex throwing the ultimate, right? That's the combo we wanted to see. It's just that the cleanse was there from Frost. The ultimate was dodged from Vex. And so they didn't actually get the full front-to-back experience. It was a glimmer, right, into what could be.
Yeah, certainly could. And no doubt we'll be hoping they can find more opportunities like that to claw back at this deficit. Down by 3,000 gold. A minute until soul point. Vision now need to be planted on this Baron as well to keep tabs on just where Direwolves are, because they're having trouble locking down this LeBlanc. I mean, from laning phase you can make a point. Yes, Goodo ganked, got him ahead, allowed him to try and really dictate the pacing of this one, but they can get that shutdown. If they can get any shutdown really on this Lucian or LeBlanc, there's a real window here where Liv can look to try and do it all. I say that. And now comes the gank, the first of the game. How much damage does he take? He's actually going to get ganked by a few more members as well. Two people coming from the river. In comes the TP. There goes the kick. There's a Sonic Wave to follow. There's a whole host of damage, but look how much time it took to take that Graves down.
Yeah, look, it took ages, but at the end of the day, they still get it. Kyosei, meanwhile, is going to have a crack, and he is just a freak. Oh my god. Dodges the W from Scott. What can this man not do? You don't give him LeBlanc ever again. Swear to God.
There's honestly nothing to say to that one. Those fadeaway chains were absurd. Disgusting. And but I'm stunned. I really am. I mean, that's as many kills as you need. 4 members down onto Baron.
It's disgusting behavior. It's just disgusting behavior.
I don't know what else to say.
From Champ Select said this is a tough matchup that they've willingly picked into. I think we could all acknowledge that, but he's prospered in it, and now he is just unstoppable. LeBlanc's hit that point in the game where everyone is at risk. They'll get the picks, Baron will be secured, and it starts with Liv going down, but hey. They'll deny a soul, and that's the best they'll get, if they're lucky.
Hoping for this one, aren't you? Goodo's here. He's got a smite charge. It's as easy as that. Soul point confirmed. Baron in hand. Liv jumping across the wall, but this time not as tanky as he was in that previous exchange. 10 kill lead, and really at this point, it's Direwolves looking to try and wrap things up.
Yeah, the tragedy of the carries of the side of Kanga, right 0 and 8. That really is the game plan now. Just deal with Lived and then play accordingly. There's only one threat on that team, and that threat has the hull breaker and is mostly wanting to be in the side lanes. 0-4 Vex, no Zonias. 2 items done for Limas. He's 1 away from doing crazy amounts of damage, but he's a full item behind.
The freedom to maneuver around this jungle like it is yours. He's just jumping in without a care in the world. I mean, the Wind Becomes Lightning was close, but even then, whether or not Scott really wanted to chase that.
Did I tell you that I played against Shinky and Clash?
Didn't. How'd that go?
Zinult's broken. It was fun. We both played top lane against each other. It was mind-numbing, but fun.
Yeah, top lane seems to be a fun place to be right now. Especially if you're just starting the game and thinking, oh, this is all it is. Farming till you can TP. And, not as TPs have been burnt. Direwolves are here on the siege. Minute 20 on this Baron. Looking to claim the first of these many inhibitors. Limas, unbelievable damage. The culling is there as an afterthought. But I
can't help but wonder if the Nami E was actually on him there. Is that lethal?
He can't even step up to wave clear. That's the state of the game.
Well, I mean, we speak about LeBlanc in the sense that she is really good as a burst mage. One thing that she's always underappreciated in, but is so exceptionally strong at, is siege comps. If you have the threat to dive, LeBlanc is one of the most oppressive champions in the game because she picks a flank and 100 to 0.
Here we go. Cursor jumping in. Fido just deleted from the game. Goodbye, sweet dreams. And sayonara as we run back into this one, into the mid lane. We go! Limas is dead! Frost has had his number all game long as this Lucian, and he has not been afforded any kind of luxury this time around. A flash kick! That's Insec! That's a triple! And that's now Direwolves prepped and poised, ready to take down a Nexus.
Yeah, easy win in the end for the side of the Direwolves. I mean, we spoke about liking Kanga's draft, but does it make a difference when Direwolves are just this clean? Easy win, easy skirmishes, strong bottom lane 2v2, and just a master of the craft in mid lane. An absolute trickster to the end.
But after that one, Direwolves now do balance the books. 8 wins, 8 defeats. And big daylight now separating them from the rest of the competition. They've got head-to-head against everybody below them. And it really would, despite the confidence from Valexa saying it's not done until it's done, feels like they're ready and they're in for that 5th and final playoff spot.
Yeah, I mean, what do you say, right? The difficulties now for Kanga to even have a chance at that spot requires a Herculean effort is probably the short of it from Kanga's side. Even with improvements that they've shown in the past couple of weeks, they still were no measure to what is the Direwolves in the game today. They were just too clean, too good.
They certainly were. And I mean, Mac, you're looking at that game. What carry was your preference? Were you more of the LeBlanc enjoyer or more of the Lucian appreciator?
Oh, brother, don't even ask that question. You know that LeBlanc is the answer, especially when it's in the hands of Kiyose. He pilots it so damn well. And you just always see him somehow appearing in the backline, somehow one-shotting. I think Limas was the man who was just getting absolutely domed by it this game. The amount of times I saw him just one-shotting, dishing damage, man, it was difficult. And I loved the story. I loved the narrative that you guys were trying to fool the audience with, saying it's a terrible matchup into the Vex, because Kiyose still popped off anyway, you know? And it all goes down because he's just got the magic hands, right? And there you go. It's just exploding people, man.
You need another way to describe that play, because literally going silent probably isn't the answer, but quite honestly, it was just watch, appreciate, and just devour more of this kind of content, because just this Direwolves showing up is what could really now be the Dark Horse's entire competition.
Well, that's it, right? This is one of the teams that is playing for that 5th spot, but if they can keep themselves in this position, a couple of wins ahead of everyone underneath them, then look, they have to start looking like a playoffs team, right? And when they have clean performances like that, well, that's what we're kind of asking from them. You know, it was a little bit slow of a start in the split. We looked at the team that they had, and even Zoran has said it, you know, they think that they're more capable of some good results than what we've sort of seen. You know, they've taken a couple of good dubs, but then up against the likes of Kanga, who was looking pretty good. Unfortunately, there was the issue of, you know, not having only there. And I did hear Rusty ask at multiple times, where's Scott? Like, I haven't seen him. You know, and that's not a good question if he's playing a Jin Zhao, which is for like really early game sort of jungler, right? You're expecting him to show face early, you know, make something happen, and that kind of didn't. So it was a bit of a rough one for Kanga today, and now that just makes their run to the playoffs still a reality, still achievable, but it's that much harder. It's that much harder not having the head-to-head up against Dialc, Rusty.
Yeah, I would say near impossible at this point, right? Like, it's a big uphill climb for them to have a shot to make playoffs at all now. As you said, they're not completely eliminated. And yeah, what I would say for Scott is the thing that I was looking for and expecting in draft was 2v2 activity with Fido and trying to use that to get something going on the bottom side. But that was the part that I thought was really sorely missing from them, where they just were run over by the power of the LeBlanc and the Lee Sin.
Oh, and I just got word as well, before we bring Kitty, actually let's bring Kitty in anyway, but Order just secured playoffs with Kanga losing there. So there's no chance for them to fall out of the top 5. Which means, you know, Peace are there as well. So it's a whole lot of fun, whole lot of action. So we got 3 teams now secured for playoffs. But Kitty, you're going to chat with someone who's looking for that 5th position, right?
Well, Frost is definitely securing that 5th position for playoffs, so let's bring him in for the interview. So Frost, congrats on taking down Kanga, you know, a really good performance on that Lucian. You guys have further separated Dials away from the bottom of the herd from those standings. The question is now, can Dials take a win away from the top teams? And with just such a strong performance coming from the team, how is the team going to achieve this?
I mean, it feels great to win, and in terms of taking a win from like the top teams, I feel like it's very doable with the right draft, with the right day on the right day. It's very, very doable.
Well, hopefully we see more good days coming out of Dials heading into playoffs very soon. But let's talk about the draft just now. So we just saw Lucian Nami being very high priority for Dials. Did you always have the mindset of prioritizing the Lucian Nami going into today's game?
I mean, from the start of the year, I wanted to play Lucian Nami, but the time was never right. But, you know, today they banned my Jinx, banned my Zeri, took the Aphelios. I mean, I guess it's just time.
Well, as a Lucian Nami enthusiast yourself, would you say that Lucian Nami has any bad matchups in terms of support champions and ADC champions?
Well, I guess I can't let the world know, you know. I've still gotta keep it secret, so, you know, for future games.
I definitely do know, you know, we might see the Lucian Nami very soon because we are going to see you guys fight for a top 3 spot in the playoffs, securing upper bracket. Well, I'm going to let you go and celebrate the dub with the boys, and see you tomorrow.
Thanks.
The mysterious individual. Again, huh? Not going to tell anyone, not going to show his
very
hand.
secret.
He's played poker before, I'll tell you that. Now, look, we do have a Dare MVP, and no surprises. It was that man on your screen doing big work in the bot lane, but also big damage just all across the damn rift. 7-0 and 6 and 72% KP and 28% of the damage share with a whopping 16k done in just a short amount of time. And look, I'm going to compare the pair for a moment because I've got some stats here from him up against Lemus. I'm looking damage to objectives, 21k, 569 to Lemus, who did 105. Not K, just 105 damage, 2 objectives that game. Pretty rough for him, but, you know, it just goes to show how much of a diffy in the biffy there was, Rusty.
Yeah, I mean, speaking frankly, Frost just played very good League of Legends working with Shinky, right? Like, they were just a powerful duo, where I feel like on the other side, Lionel was playing way more towards mid-jungle, and Limas was constantly getting caught on rotations, or, you know, at times that perhaps Limas should have been protected, right? Like, so for example, they flipped the map for Herald. No one really went bottom to help him get plates. It was just losing across the map, and the 8-minute map flip is the most predictable thing in League, so you should have a counterplay.
Yeah, it seems like that. Have you ever heard of the term, oop, there it is? You heard that?
Yes.
Okay, well, oop actually stands for out of position, and there he is Lemus, because he was out of position. So that's a nice little sum up for, I guess, his game there. But look, what, do you like that one, Skimmy? Did you?
That was good, bro. I'm just one of these appreciators of all your banter on Whitmac.
I love it.
I'm
here for it.
a
little bit of banter. Now, ladies and gents, if you want to keep up to date with all of the LCO goodness, make sure you exclamation mail in the chat. And if you spell it incorrectly, you'll get told off by Moobot. You'll keep up to date with all the giveaways, all the competitions. You'll just, follow the link, put your bloody email in there, and I promise I'll send you a love letter. Maybe.
Oh, that's dangerous.
If I can get access to the mailing list, I will send everyone love letters with a little selfie and a kiss or something. I don't know if that's approved, but look, I'm spitballing here. Either way, thank you for everyone that has exclamation mailed in the chat. And we got a final game to get to, which is going to be an absolute scorcher to finish off day number 1 for the week. So I'm not going to wait. I'm not going to hold you here any longer. Let's get through the break, and it's going to be peace and PGG afterwards.
Go, Kirsten jumping in. Fido just deleted from the game. Goodbye, sweet dreams. Sayonara as we run back into this one, into the mid lane. We go! Lemus is dead! Frost has had his number all game long as this Lucian, and he has not been afforded any kind of luxury this time around. A flash kick! That's Insec.